Are you serious about planning a successful business exit? From Angel to Exit is your go-to resource. Subscribe to our newsletter at eckfeldt.com/podcast for even more valuable insights. And to get personalized guidance, take our free exit readiness assessment. It's just 24 questions, and it will give you a clear picture of your exit readiness. Find the assessment at eckfeldt.com/exit. Submit your results, and we'll schedule a free follow-up call to discuss your specific situation and the best way to maximize your valuation and ensure a successful transaction. Now, back to the episode. Welcome, everyone. This is From Angel to Exit. I'm Bruce Eckfeldt. I'm your host. Our guest today, Denise Logan. She is the seller's whisperer. She is the author of The Seller's Journey. I'm looking at my notes here. I'm excited for this. Denise has some really amazing experience. She's got some really amazing work that she does. I think, we focus so much on kind of the mechanics of the transaction and the valuation and all these kind of things. I'm really excited to kind of talk more about what really happens for a founder, for a seller that is going through this process. What do they need to think about beyond just the transaction itself? I'm excited for this. So with all that, Denise, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to join you today, Bruce.
Yeah. Before we kind of dive into the actual kind of selling process and what sellers should be thinking about, we'd love to get some background. What is your professional background, personal background? How did you get into this work? Tell us a little bit of the story.
How did I become the seller whisperer?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I should have said that whispery.
Yeah.
Early life, I was a therapist, and then I became a lawyer. And I often say, couldn't I have used that good therapy skill to keep myself from becoming a lawyer? That might have been such a good use of it. But I built a law firm in Washington, D.C. And when we reached 50 lawyers and 300 support staff, I exited my practice, merged with a large Baltimore firm, got rid of my house, and bought a motorhome. And that could be a whole other conversation over a beverage about what that was like. I thought that would be 6 months to travel and clear my mind, and it turned into 5 years where I traveled all over North and Central America full-time in a motorhome. When I came off the road, I joined a friend's business who was preparing it for sale. Okay. And over the next 10 years, we tried to sell that business 3 times, and each time he got right to the door and would pull out because he couldn't see his life on the other side of the exit. Yeah. So I left and did a research study about why business owners get stuck. Why are they like me? I was so sick of my business, I would have given it away to be free of it.
Paid someone to take it for
Or
me.
why are they like him, where they go too early and can't pull the trigger and step into the rest of their life? Yeah. So for the last 15 years, I've worked one-on-one with business owners and their advisors to navigate the emotional arc of letting go.
Yeah. So, and is it about letting go? Like when you get into the psychology of this, like what happens? Like what is letting go? What are they letting go of? Like, give us a little kind of, philosophy or what you've seen in terms of what actually happens with founders in this process.
Yeah, there's so many interesting things, Bruce. I think I use a lot of, I'll call them normal life occurrences, right? Okay. 2 things are happening when a business owner is selling. There is the transaction, and then there is the transition. And in all other parts of our life where we go through transition, we're going through them with other people. But typically the founder is going through transition alone. Yes, they have professional advisors, but the lawyer, the banker, the wealth manager, almost everyone is focused on the transactional elements. And so emotional pieces start churning up. And for example, an owner might say, this is an actual instance that happened with a client. Yeah. He said he was in his late 30s, set to net $16 million on the other side of his sale. And he said, who am I going to hang out with? All my buddies have jobs. And the investment banker in the transaction said, dude, you can buy friends. I was like, oh no, that was funny, but in your outside voice where we could hear it. Yeah. And so what happened for the owner was he then felt shame around a very natural element of this transition. And that shame went underground. and started coming
Mhm.
out in the deal. Like I call them little mushrooms that start popping up. Oh, I don't like this term. I need
Uh-huh.
more money. And
Uh-huh.
so often, because the professionals are talking transactional terms, every time an owner raises an emotional issue and they get a transactional response, they recognize, no, can't talk about that with these people. And they
Yeah.
begin to think that they are the only ones who experience this.
Yeah.
When in truth, like I said, this is a transition. We
Mhm.
put it into context. Think about when your last child leaves home.
Mhm.
We know what that is, right? We even have language for it in our culture. We call it empty nest
Mhm.
syndrome. For the business owner, the business is often the last child leaving home, and it sometimes is their favorite child, if we're
Mm.
honest.
Yeah.
And we will hear professionals in the industry almost snarkily say, oh, they treat it like it's their baby. Heck yeah,
Mhm.
they do, because they birthed it and they took it through the
Mhm.
terrible twos. And now they are at the point where, just like with our, I'm going to say our real children, we
Mhm.
know our job is to keep them alive and educate them and give them skills to move beyond us.
Yeah.
And it still feels hard when that happens with our natural children.
Yeah.
It is the same kind of experience. We do know that our business needs to move on from us, or we need to move on from it.
Yeah.
And yet we feel that experience just like, I'll give you a fun example.
Yeah.
I was at a conference talking with a banker and a lawyer, and they were talking about how this owner they were working with was struggling to let go. And
Mhm.
so I said to one of them, do you have kids? And he said, oh, yeah, I have a 5-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. So we were at
Mhm.
a wine tasting. I was like, put your wine glass down, and I'm going to tuck my arm in yours. And you're going to imagine that I am your daughter right now. And
Mhm.
we are going to walk across this ballroom, and you are taking me to put my hand in my beloved's. And oh, he got all
Oh my
misty. And his
gosh.
buddy said, I'm glad she picked you for this exercise. And as we step across the ballroom, I'm just telling him things like, this has been such a good life we've had together. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy that I found my new man.
Yeah.
And when we finished, he said, that was horrible. And my
Yeah.
daughter is only 5. What did you just do to me? And I said, that
Uh-huh.
feeling that you just had is
Yeah.
exactly what our business owner feels as
Yeah.
they are approaching the exit.
Yeah. That's great. And I just think about my own experience and the people I've worked with, where not only is it very kind of solo, but the whole nature of the deal is very quiet. Like you can't talk about it, you can't tell a lot of people, right? So it's further isolating in that whole process. How, I guess, so
That was
I
my
guess as your philosophy,
experience too. You know, when
yeah.
I left my practice, I was thrilled. And oh no, I remember sitting on the patio in the week after, reading a magazine, drinking iced tea, thinking, my life is so great. And then I was like, oh, I need to tell so and so about, oh, wait, that's not mine
Uh-huh.
anymore. And I thought, I got what I wanted. Oh no, I got what I wanted.
Exactly.
Was that what I wanted? Did I get what I
Hmm.
wanted? And the people around me were all in the, but you got a big sack of cash
Yeah.
and you wanted to get out. Why are you missing your employees that you used to complain about?
Hmm.
Why are you all of those things? So the people around us, even the people who love us, are confused by the emotional process, which is
Yeah.
why I often relate it to other normal parts of our life. I'm
Hmm.
sure you've had this experience. You have a house that you love, but now you've built a new house and you're
Hmm.
packing all the things and you're excited to move to the new house, but you realize, oh no, I can't take that tree that I planted when
Hmm.
my child was born. Or you
Hmm.
get to the new house and it's just a little too far from your favorite Thai restaurant to keep
Hmm.
going. And you are excited to have this new thing in your life, this new home that you have been looking forward to, and you feel loss. Both things are true. And because of the way we talk about deals in the industry, and certainly we laud the money instead of the change,
Mm-hmm.
often people are feeling quiet loss and they feel ashamed about
Mm-hmm.
it, or they feel confused, or
Mm-hmm.
they worry they're the only weirdo who's feeling like this.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, I think in business culture, we don't do a very good job of acknowledging and validating and processing emotions. So, there's not a good kind of context here or kind of framework to be able to actually handle this stuff
Not
inside the
just in
business. Yeah.
business, I think
Well,
culturally we
yeah.
don't. Right. I'm
Yeah.
trained in two tracks as a therapist. One
Mm-hmm.
is work and financial disorders. So people who are
Mm-hmm.
addicted to work and money. Oh, we
Mm-hmm.
never see that in the founder community at all, do we? And the other track is called thanatology, which is the
Okay.
study of death and dying.
Ooh. Okay.
And if you think about what is happening when we are exiting a business, just like in any other transition,
Mm-hmm.
we are experiencing an existential moment
Mm-hmm.
where things are changing in such a radical way that often for our owners, what is getting churned up are existential questions. And because as a culture, we don't do endings. We just don't, right? Think about all the
Yep.
relationships that linger and
Mm-hmm.
go on. When there is an ending, an owner, as they approach that moment of transition, often feel like they're approaching a black hole. And
Mm-hmm.
so if there isn't the ability to process what's happening, they will often turn right around and move back toward their work or financial addiction.
Mm-hmm.
They will say, I need more money. I need to close one more deal. I
Mm-hmm.
need, I need, I need. And what is really happening is that they're ricocheting between those two pieces.
Yeah. What, I mean, in terms of what do we do with this sort of situations, how much of this is, you know, developing better kind of processes to handle this transition, and how much of it is how do we change our kind of connection and relationship with our business early, ideally from the beginning, but, in that process so that this transition isn't so existential or we've got other connections that allow us to then make the transition with the business because we can rely upon, other structures within our lives and connections and social, networks and things like that. How do you kind of see how do we deal with this?
Wouldn't it be great if we actually followed that Stephen Covey principle, begin with the end in mind?
Yeah.
That when we launch our business, we already are planning for the exit. And
Mm-hmm.
that typically is not what happens when
Yeah.
any of us start businesses. We start it, we're so busy in the midst of it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, either an unsolicited offer comes in, or an
Mm-hmm.
illness happens, or a disaster in our business. And
Mm-hmm.
oops, now I need to plan for something that I haven't.
Yeah.
Imagine if, I know I use a lot of family pieces, but I
Yeah.
think they're relatable.
Yeah.
Imagine if you waited until your child turned 18 and then said, so, what are you going to do with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
We don't. We prepare them for all of the changes. I
Mm-hmm.
think one of the things I see is in our community, we will have people, professionals who call themselves trusted advisors. P.S.
Mm-hmm.
Putting those two words together does not make it so. Advisors who are willing to be courageous enough to have these difficult conversations with their clients early on is
Yeah.
how they become trusted
Yeah.
advisors. But I think often what happens is the attorney or the CPA are so focused on the day-to-day things and they're worried because what if the owner actually said, I don't have any friends. I can't
Mm-hmm.
leave my business. Then that professional feels like they're backed up. Oh no,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. So I
Yeah.
simply won't ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions I ask an owner when I first come into a process is, what does work provide for you other than money and financial security?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say it again because I think the framing is important. Notice I'm not asking them, what are you going to do with yourself when you leave the business?
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at, what does work provide for you other than money and financial security. Because you're not leaving your business unless you're getting money and financial security. So we know that those two pieces are taken care of. And often when I posit that question to an owner, they will say, well, like, what else? What else is there that I'm getting from my business? And I ask them to list 15 distinct things that they are getting other than those two. There's no magic about 15.
Yeah.
But what I typically find is the first 2 or 3 that come out. Bruce, what do you get from your business? Play along with me here. What do you get other than money and financial security?
Well, I get the chance to travel. For me, like, it's adventure. Like, I get out there and go new places, do new things. There's a lot of it too, which is it helps me see where I can have impact on businesses. Right. I like this kind of problem solving, puzzle solving kind of thing that I do when I go into these new businesses. That's a big one. I think social, right? Like the community of coaches that I work with, the community of clients that I have, right? I'm fortunate in that I get quite friendly, and I consider, most of the people I work with, close relationships, right? I've worked with a lot of these people for a very long time, and I've gotten to know them very, very well, both, not only from a business point of view, from a personal and family point of view. So yeah, it's
I mean, just look at how many you
factors.
listed there. And I'll tell you some that I hear. And often when I start that with a client, they don't have an answer. So I might give one for me. And it's structure. It's structure to my day, to my week, to my year. I'll often hear from them, it's a place to go. Right? During COVID, we were all desperate to get out of our houses. And P.S., our spouses were desperate for us to get out of their houses too. When are you going somewhere else? And founders become keenly aware, oh, I have to go somewhere. It's also intellectual stimulation. It's friendship. For a lot of our owners, their employees and customers, even their competitors, are their friends. Then we start to step into the things that I think are a little harder to admit. It's the thrill of the chase or the thrill of the hunt, the kill, that I am solving something. Our wisdom is valued at work. I don't know about in your house, but the people who live in my house do not actually think that I am as wise as the people who get to hear me on a podcast or work with me. And for our founders, in some ways, it is the same. But then we even start to get into some of the things that are difficult for us to admit to ourselves and to others, which are things like power. At work, I say I want something done, and it happens. Again, the people in my house do not necessarily do what I say simply because I say I want it done. And so we're looking at getting a big sack of cash does not make those needs go away. And often I see on the other side of a sale, an owner will say, I miss work. And what they're missing are these things that we've identified. And retirement for us will not be like it was for our parents and grandparents. Playing golf and waiting for Wheel of Fortune to come on is not going to feel satisfying for any of us. And so I worked with, interesting, most of my clients tend to be business owners because that's my space. But I was retained by a law firm who has a mandatory retirement age at age 70. And they saw one of their partners who was approaching 70. She's not going. They were like, either we're going to have to force her out, or when we do, she'll just take her clients and go to a firm that doesn't have a retirement age. So in my first call with her, she said, but I don't want to learn how to knit and play mahjong. I was like, oh, hon, I don't either. No wonder you feel stuck.
Exactly. If that's what you think you're going to be doing, that's
But think about how that shows up for lots of our founders. I will see professionals ask them, so what are you going to do? What's your plan after you exit? And you probably hear this too, Bruce. It is golf, travel, and grandkids. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not a plan. That might be 2 months, 3 months, maybe. but that's not going to be it.
Yeah.
And instead, we see founders who exit their business and within a short period of time want to buy another business.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they do, and they're not actually solving for what the problem is, right? Are
Okay.
you solving for friendship? Are you solving for structure? What is that? So
Yeah.
that's a piece of work that I think we can do very early
Yeah.
with folks to really understand what might you struggle with on the other side, and how do we begin building friendship? How do we begin finding a place? Because
Mm-hmm.
going and joining a board, which is often a suggestion that owners get, you could go and be on a
Yeah.
nonprofit board. That's great, but not if you were solving for your power issue.
Mm-hmm.
That might
Yeah.
be a completely different piece. I had a client very close to the end of the transaction. Some crazy started churning up. And I said to the deal team, oh, this is not him. This is coming from home. Because at work, he is a bully. He is always involved in some form of conflict or litigation, or he is a bully.
Yeah.
And mama just realized the bully is going to be home
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to become the
Full time.
target. And unconsciously, she was kicking up chaos to derail the deal. She did not even understand exactly what
Yeah.
that
She probably
was.
didn't realize it. Yeah.
So I did some individual work with her, but I also
Uh-huh.
got him involved in a boxing program.
Okay.
Because once he locked onto that, it was fulfilling multiple needs, his
Mm-hmm.
physical fitness, his social needs. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that we'll call it an ugly need because most of us do not like to admit if we are bullies.
Mm-hmm.
That bully need was not going away. It needed
Mm-hmm.
a place to get satisfied. And once he locked on to that program, all of her stuff settled down and our deal closed lickety split.
Yeah. 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 I just find it fascinating how these unmet subconscious needs kind of start showing up as resistance to the deal process. And whether it's, well, yeah, I don't like that valuation, or I don't like this term, or I don't want to work with that CEO, or like all these little things start coming up to sabotage the deal and to kind of delay it and dig in heels. And
And they're
what,
often not what is really under there. I mean, I was
yeah,
involved in a process. The size of the deal is less critical to me. My view is that owners go through the exact same emotional arc, whether we're
yeah,
talking about a $50,000 hair salon or a $500 million manufacturing company.
mm-hmm,
So this was an $85 million manufacturing company.
mm-hmm,
8 weeks before closing, the seller suddenly announces he will not take a penny less than 9 times EBITDA, which would be great, except his deal was at 6.2. So
yeah,
we had a pretty big delta there.
mm-hmm,
And the banker is telling him, but you're getting a good valuation. The
yeah,
lawyer is telling him he's going to get sued. And he
it's not
stopped
logical.
talking to
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
So the investment banker called me and said, I think my seller went crazy. I'm like, yeah, it sounds like it. Let's see if we can figure out what scared him and what
mm-hmm,
hidey hole he went into, and can I coax him out? So his original plan was to sell the business, buy a sailboat, sail around the globe. You could get a pretty good boat for 85 million bucks. So this
mm-hmm,
probably was not really about the multiple,
yeah,
right? What I learned is 2 weeks before he asked for this financial unicorn, his wife said, I'm not doing that. I do
mm-hmm,
not want to be stuck on a boat with you far away from my grandkids. Hell no, we're not doing that. Can we agree, Bruce? He is not coming back to tell the deal team that the deal is off because his wife won't let him do what he wants to do.
exactly.
Instead, he asked for something that he knew he couldn't get,
Yeah,
so that when the deal unraveled, it was about them, not him.
yep,
So I did some individual work with husband and wife separately and brought them back together with a solution where he would buy the sailboat and sail. And every 6 weeks, she would take one grandchild, fly to where he was. They would
mm-hmm,
do 2 weeks on land building memories with the grandchild. Then she would
mm-hmm,
fly home and he would sail on. Boom.
mm-hmm.
Our deal is back on track, closed on time at its original asking price because it was not about what it looked like it was about.
Yeah,
What they
yeah,
were experiencing as a couple, which I think a lot of founder spouse couples struggle with, is called relational grief. There's what we
Interesting.
think our business and our life will be like.
Uh-huh.
When we retire, we will blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then as we approach it, it's like, I don't know you. I don't even know if I want to know you.
Yeah.
It is exactly what happens to a lot of just couples when the last child leaves home.
Yeah.
We have invested so much in our business that our relationships are not as deep and strong. And we realize, I don't want to do that. I don't want the same things you want. And so rather than confront those relational issues that are more difficult to face, an owner or sometimes their spouse will say, let's just keep the business. Let's
Mm-hmm.
keep it going.
Yeah.
I have something I call the oh my syndrome. And
Okay.
oh my stands for one more year. Oh my. And an owner will say, you know what? I just need one more year. Just one more year.
Yeah.
One more year. When I hear that, what I know is happening is there is some other emotional issue going on under the surface that they don't know how to either vocalize or solve for.
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is saying, I'll bet if I just stay like 1, 2, 3 more years, that'll either go away
Yeah.
or
Resolve
I will
itself.
figure it out. And so that is also just a small signaling piece that
Yeah.
advisors, when you hear it from your clients or you, that's what they're signaling. Something
Yeah.
else is going on under the surface.
Yeah.
And that's where
How?
I live. I live in that, I call it the messy middle, the
Yeah.
places where they will confide to me what they likely will not confide to other professionals in the process,
Yeah.
mostly because they want their investment banker to think they're smart. They
Yeah.
want their lawyer to be like, I know stuff. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to say, the thing I'm getting from my business is I don't have to go on a cruise with my spouse
Mm-hmm.
because it's easier to say, honey, I'd love to do that, but the business needs me. It's
Mm-hmm.
much harder to say, I can't stand more than 3 consecutive hours of your yapping. But maybe that's
How,
true.
so how? So how? Um, because I find this I like the idea of we need to sort of start with the end in mind and kind of plan for your exit before you start your company and everything. But I find most of that out there right now is very much about valuation and like, okay, what's the strategic exit or who is the private equity firm? Like, it's very transactional still. What are the things that a founder can do kind of early in that kind of, hey, I'm starting this company. What are the things that I need to kind of maintain in terms of relationships, sense of self, other activities, a kind of a broader, base for my ego, like as I found a company, as I kind of go through those early stages, and then how do I maintain that over time? Because I think that's, a lot of this is how do we avoid, or how to at least be much more aware of the situation we're putting ourselves in, so that when we get to that transaction period, we can actually have a better transitional period, or we have a strategy, or we have more tools that we can work with when we're doing the transition. Like what would you advise, or how do you advise earlier stage founders in terms of preparing some of these things that they may not be thinking of?
Yeah, 2 things. One, your life is a portfolio. You would never overinvest in one part of your financial portfolio, ever. If you were all of your money in the stock market, your advisors would be like, what are you doing? That's super
Mm-hmm.
scary. That's not suitable. But your life has slices as well.
Mm-hmm.
How is your romantic life? Are you investing there? How
Mm-hmm.
is your family life? How is your friendship life? How is your
Mm-hmm.
financial life? For sure, that's a slice.
Mm-hmm.
How are you enjoying work? What is your spiritual connection, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is for you, your sense of meaning?
Yeah.
An exercise I just do with clients is we draw a little pizza circle,
Mm-hmm.
cut it into slices,
Yeah.
and then we color in, like, how satisfied are you in that slice of your life? And what we often see is the financial piece is something, maybe I'm super satisfied, or maybe I'm not satisfied,
Yeah.
but right, that's where all of my attention is going. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
really not investing in my children, or and as owners, we can often say, but I'm making the money for their future.
Mm-hmm.
Any of us with kids know, if you ask your kids, do you want more money or do you want time with dad?
100%.
It's
I'm
dad,
with that
right?
every single time.
They need some money. And that's also about getting honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
You are not actually doing it for them. You are doing it for you. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of, and then I'll come back to the other way to handle
Yeah.
this. Private equity firm wanted to acquire this family-run business, and the dad was ready to go, the mom was not. And so they just asked me, would I have a conversation with them? And in my first conversation, I realized, oh, yeah, dad's ready to go. Mom wants this business to go to their son. So I said, does he want this? Is that part of the plan? So the son is a sophomore in college. So can we all agree that's a pretty far time from turning the business over to him? And the dad is making a face like, that kid's a dummy. I'm not turning my business over to him.
Yeah.
And so I said, like, is that your son's plan? And mom is sure it is. So I said, how about if I have a conversation with him and just see where he is? So the son says to me, if I have to get 3 PhDs to stay in school till they sell that business, that's my plan. I'm like, well, that's a plan. That shouldn't probably be the plan. How about if instead I do a family facilitated conversation and help you express that to mom and dad? And that's what we did. And the mom actually went into a pretty big grief spiral. Because for her, they had sacrificed, in her mind, they sacrificed everything for him. He did not want it. And in some way, she unconsciously knew that, but was holding out hope, right? If we wait, either he will want it or he will feel guilty for it. So we processed that. I did some grieving work with her. And then they did sell the business to the private equity firm, because that was the right exit. But I think in a lot of businesses, that conversation is not happening. The founder or the owner, even if they're not a founder, has a secret intention of who will take the business over or other things.
There's a plan. There's a plan there often.
There's a secret plan that no one else has bought into, but it's my plan.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on a really important one, which is there may be a plan that I have that I'm conscious of that I'm just not telling people, but there's also a plan that I might not be conscious of. There may be some kind of pattern, and it might be, historic. It might be, something that I've modeled because of, somebody else or a previous family member or something or external pressure, right? That I have to do it this way because that's the way we've done it as a family, or that's the way I've seen other people do it, or that's, the general culture should be doing it this way. And so you've got these kind of unrealized subconscious patterns or kind of stories going on that impact that.
And that's the cultural piece that I think we as a society and certainly as a community of owners and advisors need to change.
Yeah.
I very rarely get involved in other people's LinkedIn posts. Like, I might comment here or there, but there was a post that just like lit a fire under me. This founder had written that, she's finally going on a 1-week vacation. She's 6 years in. And, the whole role as a founder is to be 24/7, 365, blah, blah, blah. And there's all of this praise for her, like, oh, you're so good. And I just hopped in. And I said, I don't know why we are praising you for devoting yourself to the business in this way. This is a myth in the founder community that to be successful, you must work 24/7, 365 for many years and abandon all other parts of your life.
Yeah.
If you were writing this right now about an employer, we would all agree that you are being abused. If you're going to own your own business, you should not be the biggest jerk you've ever worked for. And I think we have done a bad job in our society of praising that kind of single-minded focus that then leaves people with no life to return to, no relationships to support them, all in the pursuit of this ridiculous ethos that is what it means to be successful.
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't think it works. I mean,
it doesn't.
Yeah. It's
It
not
doesn't.
even like, oh, okay, well, like you get a benefit of it. Like I think it's fundamentally destructive. I mean, I have a long list of things that I feel I did wrong in my business, but the one thing I think I did really well, we made a decision early in the process that we were never going to work a weekend.
Right.
And I think I probably worked 4 weekends over 10 years.
Right.
And it was two things. One, it forced discipline. Like we had to figure out, okay, well, we're only working Monday through Friday. So we need to really get clear on what do we need to do at that limited time. And B is that weekend was recharge, right? It's like, I could come back on Monday now, not just relaxed, but like I was doing something else. I was investing in other parts of my life. I was going to mention the other ones that I do with founders that you were talking about, the pie and kind of slicing up.
Right.
I'll do their time. I'll take their calendar and say, okay, over the last 3 weeks, where have we spent time? And like when we start looking at how they're actually spending their time and whether it's, personal time, whether it's working out, family time, like we start quantifying it and it can get ugly. Like they start putting some time in there. It's like, how much time have you actually spent with your kids over the last couple of weeks? Yeah. It comes back like, okay, half an hour. Like, with family, with spouses, with friends, right? Like that becomes really interesting. The other one I do is I'll give them a challenge and say, give me 5 friends that you've spent time with in the last month that are not related to the business and not related to the family. And I've got a lot of founders that can't name a single one.
Right. I do
Right,
something
and
called
it's
a camera, the calendar camera, without
Okay.
opening your calendar.
Yeah.
Tell me the key things that happened every month for the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, it is completely blank. I call it the camera, the calendar camera, because if you look through your calendar, you might see it. But have you been present at any of the things that you have done? Did you go on vacation with your kids or your spouse or with your friends or by yourself?
By yourself? Yeah, I was just going to say that
Right?
one.
Did you
Yeah.
go to a wedding and, oh yeah, but you only know what you saw because you have pictures of it?
Mhm.
What can you recall from the last 12 months, month by month, without actually looking at the
I like
calendar?
this one.
And
I
if
like this
you
one.
can't recall anything, guess what? You're not dead yet. So let's make sure that the next 12 months you're in your life.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that's so important, and it really does go back to what is the purpose of your business? Your business, of course, is a money generating tool. It is a wealth generating tool.
Yep.
But is that the only part of your life that you are investing in with the unrealistic expectation that when you get there, wherever there is the magic number, then you can buy your life back?
Yeah.
Because you cannot buy your life back. I'll tell you something I did with a client. This is years ago. He was preparing for his exit, and an exercise that I gave him, oh, your people are going to be like, this is scary.
Go for it.
This is scary.
This is the challenge. Here it comes.
For sure. 5 people in your life. Could be your children, your spouse, your best friend, whatever. I want you to write a letter from their perspective to you 5 years from now, looking back on this intervening 5-year period. So let me frame it up again. So assume that you are your son. 5 years from now, he is writing a letter to you saying, Dad, these are the things that really were so great that we enjoyed in the last 5 years. Yeah. Do that for each of those 5 people. Write the letter. And then, if you're brave enough, share the letter with that person.
Yeah.
And ask them to comment upon that letter. So I did this with a client. And his oldest son, his name was Andy. And his son was like, this is bullshit, Dad. I'm sorry. I realize I don't know if people curse on your podcast. Guess what? You got the real me. And he's like, this is all you and your big head and all the stuff that you want to be able to brag about. That is not what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm writing this letter 5 years from now, I want us to have looked back on going to baseball games at all of the major league parks in the country. And my client was like, I didn't know you wanted to do that. Well, gosh, where you been? And so they
Mm-hmm.
set on a path. The very first year, they came to Scottsdale for spring training, and that was the first game. And I met them there, and we all got baseball caps. I don't know, men like to have more baseball caps, right? All the
I've got a whole
thing.
rack of them.
You've
Yeah.
got a whole rack, so do all of your brothers out there in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And so every year they did that. And in year 3, his son was diagnosed with a brain
no.
tumor.
Oh no.
You know, sometimes we think we are making the memories for our children, but sometimes we are making the memories for us. And so Andy died,
Oh gosh.
and my client asked me would I come to the memorial and would I help them to craft this. And one of the things that we did was I asked him to bring all of the ball caps.
Yeah.
And at the memorial, we asked each person to take a cap, put the cap on, and tell a memory of their time with Andy.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to think that what we are accumulating are dollars or other things. But every single person to a one at that memorial would have said the thing they wanted most was one more memory with Andy.
Yeah.
It's very easy in our culture and in our industry to get sidetracked. I listened to another podcast recently, and the host said, the best evidence that reincarnation is real is the way people live their lives as if they're going to get another go around. And you know, I don't know if that is true or not, but I see a lot of people living their lives that way.
Yeah.
And thinking, you know, legacy is important, but I believe we are making our legacy in every interaction, in every conversation, in whether we attend to the things and people that we say matter. You could have your name on a building. You could leave a big sack of cash for people. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the end, the memories that they will carry are the ones that you spent time and made with them.
Yeah.
So if I could roll back the clock for lots of owners, I would start at that very beginning and say, what should life look like on the other side? Not only from an economic perspective, but from a life perspective.
Yeah.
Because when I see founders, as I often do, who are at that point and they do not have a relationship with their spouse or their children or friends or even themselves,
Yeah, exactly.
it becomes very difficult to let go. It is not difficult to let go if you are stepping into a life that you have built along the way. It is just a natural transition. Just like we all know the moms who try to hang on to their children, don't leave, don't leave. You are not successful if you still have a 35-year-old man living in your basement. You have not successfully parented in that moment. Can we all
There's
agree?
There's a failure there somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
You have done a failure to launch.
Yeah.
As a founder, it is the same. Your business is meant to move beyond you. And for you to be gracious and graceful in the way you are preparing it so that it can thrive beyond you.
Yeah.
I see founders sometimes have something I call the special snowflake syndrome. I'm the only one who can do it, and they unconsciously sabotage their businesses or they create unnecessary complexity, and it is painful for them to think someone else could run my business without me, that it could survive without me. And that is a psychological piece that I often work with folks. And that will hamper a transition because then it feels like the business is being pried away from them, like a child being pried away from you. Instead of, no, our job is to launch them. And it is painful. Like both things are true. You know that when your child leaves, that relationship will be different.
Mm-hmm.
And you will
It's
get
got to
to,
transition.
you will get to be in their life if you have been in their life well along the way.
Yeah.
And when our business leaves, yes, we may still see our name on the sign, or we may still see it there, and there is a sense of pride. But it is meant to move beyond us. And that's why it is letting go, not having it ripped from us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talk a lot about, having the business should work for you, not you work for the business. I think the same thing needs to be with the transaction and the exiting, right? The exit needs to work for you, right? Like it should serve a purpose, and there should be some role it plays in then helping you achieve something else. And the more that you can kind of have that plan, have that vision, and that there is something beyond the business for yourself, then yeah, it actually becomes a positive thing. Like I want to do it. Like I want to move through this because there's something on the other side that it gets me and that I can move on, step up, have more impact, whether it's starting another business, whether it's doing more mission work, or whether it's spending time with family. It's like that is the intentional, process that I'm putting in place. So
It is. And, can I chat a little
yeah,
bit about the book
one
that I
more.
wrote?
Yeah, please.
So, The Seller's Journey is written as a business fable. It's
Mm-hmm.
the story of an owner 1 year after he leaves his business.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on a trip across Glacier National Park with his banker, his lawyer, his wealth manager, and the private equity buyer who bought his company. Right now, you're thinking it's a murder mystery.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, or a really a bad joke.
But as they cross the glacier, they're relating the physical obstacles they're facing to the emotional obstacles that he faced in
Yeah.
letting go. And it also reinforces why it's important who you choose to take that journey with.
Yeah.
Because when you have professionals who are just shoving an owner through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Technical proficiency is table stakes in this. Are you choosing people who also understand the greater transition that is happening underneath the surface?
Yeah.
So it's a tool for owners to use or advisors to use with owners to help them realize you're not the only weirdo who is worried about some of the things. And when you choose professionals who can actually come alongside you, you will want to do something like, yes, go on a trip with your advisors and the buyer of your company, because not all money is equal. And the right buyer for your company may or may not be the one with the most money. It's the one who also helps to meet these intangible, unspoken needs that we each have when we are making a transition.
Yeah. This has been great. I want to make sure people get the information for how to get the book, how to get more information on you. What's the best way to get that?
So easy. My website is deniselogan.com. The book is there. It's also on all of the platforms. And yeah, for sure, make a little outreach. I'd love to hear what's happening and what people are thinking.
Yeah, I highly encourage everyone to check out the book, and some great stories and some great advice there. So, Denise, thank you so much for taking the time today.
I enjoyed it so much. Stay well, Bruce.